Artists are often free spirits, and sometimes they apply that freedom to their relationships too, without their significant others being aware. From writers to singers to actors and beyond, there's long been a trope that creatives are so filled with passion and emotion that they just can't help but spread their love around. Sometimes this takes place in acknowledged, consensually open relationship, but often it seems to come through cheating. Cheating that they often find ways to put into their art for all to see. Of course, people of all kinds can and do cheat, but artists have spearheaded this trope to some degree in the popular culture because they keep making art about them doing it. So why do artists seem so obsessed with this rather destructive form of love? And telling us all about it. Creatives are often framed as being driven by a fire burning within, one that often pushes them towards drama or even anguish in an effort to feel more deeply. They want to feel big emotions that they can then translate into their work to create a big impact. Infidelity has long been a theme across literature, music, and film because it pricks those most tender emotions: love, betrayal, secrecy, lust. From Federico Fellini's 8.5 to Fleetwood Mac's entire discography, cheating plucked from real life and amplified for an audience has become the basis for some of our most well-known and beloved media. And you can find it hiding in some pretty surprising places. For example, while Eyes Wide Shut is based on a 1923 novella called Dream Story, director and co-writer Stanley Kubrick was said to have based much of the main couple's strife and dalliances with infidelity on real-life couple Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. While everyone generally agrees that cheating is bad in real life, when it comes to artists, the idea that it's in some way connected to their creative output gives them a big get-out-of-jail-free card, in much the same way that people might be willing to overlook a haughty attitude from a star. And some of the most iconic real-life Hollywood couples, who are often upheld as the pinnacle of perfect relationships, began through infidelity. Humphrey Bogart was married when he began dating 19-year-old Lauren Bacall. Paul Newman was married when he got with Joanne Woodward. Cheating is, in a word, commonplace in Hollywood. But not everyone decides to put their infidelity into their art. Art reflects life, and so it makes sense that it would reflect all aspects of life, not just the good or acceptable ones. Artists sometimes see their life, and everyone else in it, as fair game, all part of a story in which they are the protagonist. And so this can lead to them working out their problems with themselves, with their choices, with the people around them, on our screens and radio waves. Many great songs, love songs even, were actually about cheating, either being the one cheating or being the other person. On screen in particular, cheating has become an easy way to stir up drama in a romance, creating an automatic villain in the other person, or an obstacle to love in the spouse of the one desired. It's become an easy shorthand framing that filmmakers can use to quickly let the audience in on a well-known setup without too much explanation. Though, as we discussed in depth in our video on the other woman trope, this trope can be used as a way to flatten and villainize a female character without ever having to look at her as a full person, or think about her motivations or needs. And since infidelity is such a pervasive trope in general, it can be kind of hard to avoid forever. So it's not like everyone who has ever written or played a cheater necessarily is one in real life, of course.
My marriage has survived several affairs already.
Oh, ready?
I've just never been party to them.
When you've got so much to worry about and a to-do list that never seems to stop growing, it can feel nearly impossible to get everything done, especially when the days keep getting shorter. That's one place that Factor can be a huge help. Their chefs do all of that prep and cooking work so that those tasty meals show up right on your doorstep, ready to heat and eat. Factor has so many options, from breakfast to lunch to dinner and everything in between, across a whole range from gourmet plus to keto to vegan and veggie and beyond. We've especially been loving their ground beef and thyme cottage pie with Parmesan buttered zucchini, and their garlic and herb chicken breast with smoked cheddar cauliflower grits. Their meals are also dietitian approved, so you know that you're getting something that's just as nutritious for you as it is delicious. Their fresh, never frozen meals make it easy to have a tasty meal ready to go in just 2 minutes, without all of the hassle of prep, cooking, or cleanup. Save money, time, and peace of mind this winter with America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service. If you're ready to make your routine a little easier and a lot tastier this winter, head to factormeals.com/50thetake and use code 50thetake to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code 50thetake at factormeals.com/50thetake to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping while your subscription is active. When the person writing the film or show is pulling from their own life and choices, it can sometimes feel like they're working overtime to justify their infidelity. But other times we do get to see a more multifaceted view of the cheater and their choices. Marriage Story, written and directed by Noah Baumbach, is said to be loosely based on his divorce from actress Jennifer Jason Leigh, and the accusations of cheating on the rather questionable timeline of the beginning of his relationship with Greta Gerwig.
Life with you was joyless!
What, so then you had to go with someone else?
You shouldn't be upset that I f***ed her. You should be upset that I had a laugh with her.
The story frames his cheating within the larger context of the unhappy marriage. Neither of them are happy, and it's led to them both making the other miserable through their choices, not necessarily working to justify the wrongdoing, but rather instead to unpack the not-so-happy truths that can lie at the heart of a relationship that's been stretched past its limit, where cheating is just one of a multitude of ways you can hurt a partner. Carrie Bradshaw was loosely based on writer Candace Bunchell, who started using the name as a pseudonym in her real-life New York Observer column, where she wrote about her own adventures. She said she began using the name as a cover so that her parents hopefully wouldn't realize that they were reading about her sexual pursuits in the paper. Big is also allegedly based on a real person, former Vogue publisher Ron Galati. While he and Candace did date for a time, there's no indication that their relationship was as fraught or toxic as the one that ended up becoming the centerpiece of Sex and the City. But in Carrie, we can see how the idea of being a free spirit and a writer allows Carrie to justify a lot of her own less than savory behavior. While she would judge others for doing the same things, when she does it, it's justified because it's different, it's just her nature, and she's the main character.
You're the other woman. I am not the other woman. I'm not. I mean, I know I am, but I am not that woman.
Musicians often have a more direct connection to the art they share in terms of how it's consumed by the public. They aren't writing for or directing a character. These words are coming through the musician themselves. Like with every other topic under the sun, infidelity often makes an appearance somewhere in a musician's discography, whether they're the perpetrator, victim, or third party waiting in the wings. And because, like writers and filmmakers, musicians aren't afraid of confronting the more unsavory sides of their own relationships and choices, a surprising amount of the time in their songs, they're not the scorned party, but in fact the one doing the cheating.
I know that he knows I'm unfaithful and it kills him inside.
Ariana Grande, for example, has a long history of entering into relationships with people who have not yet left their previous ones, and hasn't been afraid to put that directly into her songs.
Wake up with your girlfriend. Yeah, 'cause I'm bored.
Waves were made when it was revealed that she had begun a relationship with her Wicked co-star Ethan Slater. Both were married at the time, and Ethan and his wife had just welcomed a new baby. Though there have been attempts to amend the timeline on when they actually got together, they didn't open up about the relationship publicly, but Ariana did include a song on her recent album essentially hand-waving away any issues anyone might have with the whole relationship.
The business is yours, but mine is mine. Why do you care so much? Who's that right?
Ethan himself has been a smaller part of the conversation, which is certainly in part due to the other woman problem, but it's also just because he's less famous and hasn't really made any of his own art that he could put his side of the story into. But it's in his ex-wife's story that we see the important other part of the equation that can so often get left out of the cheating artist trope. Sometimes both people in the relationship, the cheater and the person being cheated on, are artists. And so we actually do end up getting to hear both sides of the story in a major way. But often it's a rather uneven relationship, where only the cheater themselves has this platform. And so that can end up being the only side of the story we get, the side attempting to justify or dismiss the pain caused by the cheating.
Ever think about how she'd feel if she found out? Yes, I think about it all the time. No, you don't. You think about what would happen to you if she found out. You don't think about her.
Ethan Slater's ex-wife, Dr. Lily J., for example, had no real platform, and so has spent the time since the dissolution of their relationship not only having to hear one of the biggest pop stars in the world release a song about getting her husband, but then also having to see them go on a promo tour together for one of the biggest films of the year. But she recently was able to share her side of the story with an article in The Cut, where she was given the space to unpack how terrible it felt to uproot her life for her childhood sweetheart, only to have have him ditch her and their newborn baby. She wrote, "Days with my son are sunny. Days when I can't escape the promotion of a movie associated with the saddest days of my life are darker." He also opened up about how, while the artists may get to just float on, using scandals as a part of their art, it can have real negative consequences for everyone else left picking up the pieces. She wrote, "It's hard to measure an absence, and I can't say for sure how much my career has been impacted by what's out there online, but there have been hints along the way, like the job offer that dissolved without explanation after yet another tabloid news cycle, or the patient who's scheduled for a first appointment but seemingly vanishes." But she also noted how, even with all of the pain she had to endure in the public eye, she is finding ways to move forward. "Slowly but surely, I have come to believe that in the absence of the life I planned with my high school sweetheart, a lifetime of sweetness is waiting for me and my child." We can't and shouldn't try to police human emotions, or what people are or are not allowed to include in their art. Infidelity is a very real part of the human experience, so it has its place in art just like every other point of conflict. Also, so much of art is about drama and passion, so it might feel a little empty if no one ever opened up about doing anything bad. Really, the point when looking at this trope is to make sure we're not forgetting the framing in which we're experiencing these stories, whose side gets told and whose gets left out.
That's the take. Click here to watch the video we think you'll love, or here to check out a whole playlist of awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications.